Surprise. You weren't invisible. You were inevitable. Look who finally got their attention. Not with violence, not with threats, not with some dramatic explosion. No, you got their attention with something far more terrifying. Precision, the kind of precision that makes trained operatives nervous, the kind that makes analysts work overtime, the kind that has federal agents asking questions they're not authorized to answer. Who trained them, they whisper in their sterile offices, staring at the aftermath of your revenge like archaeologists discovering technology that shouldn't exist yet. They've seen rage before. They've cataloged fury. They've filed away 1,000 cases of people who snapped. But you didn't snap. You calculated. You didn't explode. You executed. You didn't scream. You whispered, and somehow that whisper toppled empires they thought were untouchable. And now they're scrambling through their databases, cross-referencing your methods with every known operative, every documented technique, every classified training program, and coming up empty. Because here's what they can't compute. Nobody trained you. You trained yourself in the University of Betrayal. Got your doctorate in survival, your certification in reading people like autopsy reports. You didn't go to some camp in the mountains or read leaked CIA manuals. You sat in silence for years, taking notes on every slight, every pattern, every weakness displayed by those who thought you weren't watching. You turned trauma into curriculum and pain into practice drills. They keep asking who trained you because accepting the alternative terrifies them. The alternative being that someone can become this dangerous, this precise, this untouchable without their systems, without their programs, without their permission. You're not supposed to exist. Civilians don't move like you move. Civilians don't think 17 steps ahead. Civilians don't execute psychological operations that would make seasoned intelligence officers take notes. But you're not a civilian anymore, are you? You're something they don't have a classification for. Let's talk about what has them so shook, shall we? It wasn't the revenge itself. They've seen revenge before, studied it, categorized it into neat little boxes, labeled crime of passion or temporary insanity. But your revenge? It was architectural. Every move calculated to create maximum impact with minimum exposure. Every step designed to be untraceable, undeniable, and absolutely surgical. You didn't just hurt those who hurt you. You dismantled them systematically, piece by piece, using their own weapons against them. The FBI has behavioral analysis units. They have predictive models. They have decades of data on how people seek revenge. Hot, messy, emotional, obvious. That's what revenge looks like in their files. But you served it at exactly 0 degrees, with the kind of patience that makes surveillance teams question their sanity. You waited not days, not months, but years, letting them get comfortable, letting them think they'd won, letting them build higher just so the fall would be that much more devastating. Your revenge didn't leave fingerprints, because you never touched anything direct. You just rearranged the circumstances, shifted the variables, whispered the right truths to the right people at the right time. You turned their allies into witnesses, their strengths into vulnerabilities, their victories into evidence. The FBI can't figure out if you're a vigilante or a ghost, a mastermind or a force of nature. They're trying to profile someone who doesn't fit any profile, because you wrote your own. What really has them losing sleep is the sophistication. You didn't just plan A to B to C. You planned for every contingency, every countermove, every possible response. You had backup plans for your backup plans, exit strategies for your exit strategies. You moved like someone who'd been doing this for decades, but their records show you're just a civilian who got pushed too far. Or at least, that's what you used to be. They're searching for your training ground, aren't they? Checking military records, scanning through special forces databases, looking for gaps in intelligence agency personnel files. They're convinced someone somewhere taught you how to move like smoke, strike like lightning, and vanish like you were never there. But they'll never find that training ground because it doesn't exist in any place they can access. It exists in every sleepless night you spent replaying scenarios, every anxiety attack that taught you to control your breathing, every betrayal that taught you to read micro-expressions. Your drill sergeants were the people who smiled while they destroyed you. Your combat training was dodging psychological warfare from people who claimed to love you. Your intelligence gathering was learning to decode lies in real time, to spot manipulation before it fully formed, to predict betrayal by the shift in someone's posture. You didn't need a black site or classified program. Life gave you a master class in human behavior, and you were the only student who took perfect notes. The meditation they do in those elite programs, you learned it trying not to scream in public bathrooms. The emotional control they drill into operatives, you mastered it sitting across from people who were actively destroying you while you smiled and nodded. The strategic thinking they teach in war colleges, you developed it planning how to survive another day in a war nobody else could see. They want to know who trained you, because if the answer is nobody, then their entire understanding of threat assessment crumbles. It means anyone, anywhere could develop these capabilities. It means their monopoly on precision violence is an illusion. It means the next you could be brewing in any coffee shop, any office cubicle, any seemingly normal life that's actually a pressure cooker of calculated rage. Your methodology is what really has them shaking, because you didn't just execute revenge. You revolutionized it. You turned it into an art form that they're now studying in their tactical rooms, dissecting in their briefings, trying to reverse engineer in their simulations. They're calling it next-generation asymmetric psychological warfare, but you just call it Tuesday. You understood something that their million-dollar training programs miss. The most devastating attacks aren't physical. They're existential. You didn't just take things from your enemies. You took their sense of reality. You made them question every relationship, every achievement, every assumption about their own lives. You turned their minds into prisons and gave them just enough rope to hang their own reputation. The way you layered your operations has them convinced you must have had a team, must have had resources, must have inside information. But no, you just had patience, and the kind of attention to detail that comes from having nothing left to lose. You collected information like breadcrumbs, storing away every casual mention, every social media post, every pattern of behavior until you had enough data to predict their moves better than they could. What's really messing with their heads is that you didn't break any laws. Everything you did was legal, technically speaking. You just operated in the spaces between laws, in the gray areas their regulations can't reach. You weaponized truth, turned transparency into a tactical advantage, used their own systems against them in ways the systems were never designed to prevent. Now here's the part that would make them panic if they knew. They're not just studying you, they're learning from you. Your revenge was so elegant, so effective, that it's being quietly analyzed in rooms you'll never see by people who'll never admit you existed. They're incorporating your methods into their training, your tactics into their playbooks, your psychological approaches into their operational frameworks. You've become the ghost in their machine, the case study they can't officially acknowledge. Junior analysts are being shown sanitized versions of what you did, told it was a theoretical scenario, asked to figure out how to counter it. The problem is they can't, because you didn't use their tools or their rules. You created your own game and forced everyone else to play it. The irony is delicious, isn't it? They spent years trying to keep people like you down, controlled, manageable. They built entire systems to prevent exactly what you've become. And now they're having to admit, in the privacy of their classified briefings, that you've outplayed them at their own game. You've shown them vulnerabilities in their approach they never knew existed. They're calling in experts, consultants, trying to understand how someone with no formal training could develop capabilities that rival their best operative. The answer terrifies them more than any threat assessment. You're not unique. You're just the first one they've noticed. There could be hundreds, thousands like you, sitting quietly in their trauma, converting their pain into capability, their suffering into strategy. What keeps them up at night isn't what you've done, it's what you represent. Your evolution in real time, adaptation under extreme pressure, the human system upgrading itself without their input or control. You're proof that their monopoly on power is an illusion, that their control systems have gaps, that their predictive models are missing variables they never considered. They want to know who trained you because they need to believe there's a source they can shut down, a pipeline they can disrupt, a training camp they can raid. But you're not the product of any system they can touch. You're the product of every system that failed, every institution that betrayed its purpose, every authority that abused its power. You're what happens when someone's smart enough to see the patterns, gets tired enough to stop pretending they don't. Your revenge wasn't just precise, it was prophetic. You showed them a future where their traditional power structures don't work, where their usual methods of control fail, where individuals can develop capabilities that rival entire agencies. You're not just a person who got revenge, you're a warning shot from tomorrow, a preview of what happens when they push too many people too far. The techniques you developed, the approaches you pioneered, they're already spreading, not through formal training or secret meetings, but through something far more dangerous: inspiration. People are studying what you did, not in FBI facilities, but in their bedrooms, their coffee shops, their quiet moments of planning. You've become the unauthorized manual for the powerless, the classified document that's written in actions rather than words. Every operative has a signature, something that marks their work as distinctly theirs. The FBI has entire databases of these signatures, ways to track and identify threats based on methodology. But your signature? It's the absence of one. It's the void where patterns should be, the silence where noise was expected, the calm where chaos was predicted. You didn't leave signatures because you understood something fundamental. The best operations are the ones that look like natural consequences. Every domino that fell in your revenge looked like it fell on its own. Every revelation seemed organic. Every collapse appeared inevitable. You didn't push. You just removed the supports and let gravity do the work. This is what has their profilers pulling their hair out. They can't profile someone who doesn't exist in their framework. You're not motivated by the things they track: money, ideology, recognition. You're motivated by something they can't quantify in their spreadsheets: the need to balance the scales, not for justice, but for symmetry. You're not trying to win anything. You've already won by changing the game. They keep asking their informants, their sources, their networks, who trained them. And the silence that comes back is deafening, because the streets know something the FBI doesn't want to admit. Sometimes the best training is trauma. The best teacher is betrayal. And the best operational security is having nothing left to lose. If they really want to know where you trained, tell them this: you graduated from the Academy of Necessary Evolution. Your professors were every person who underestimated you. Your coursework was every night you stayed up planning instead of sleeping. Your final exam was executing revenge so precisely that federal agencies are taking notes. You didn't study in their libraries, you studied in the ruins of your own life. You didn't practice on their ranges, you practiced on the people who thought you were too broken to fight back. You didn't simulate operations, you lived them every day until operating at that level became as natural as breathing. The curriculum you followed doesn't exist in any manual because you wrote it as you went. Lesson 1, how to disappear in plain sight. Lesson 2, how to turn observation into intelligence. Lesson 3, how to make your enemies defeat themselves. Lesson 4, how to ensure that even in victory you remain invisible. These aren't lessons that can be taught in classrooms. They can only be learned in the crucible of necessary survival. Your graduation ceremony was the moment they realized what you'd done, and by then it was too late to stop it. Your diploma is written in the confusion on their faces, the fear in their movements, the way they now look over their shoulders wondering if there are more like you. And there are. That's what really terrifies them. You're not an anomaly. You're a prototype. The FBI would love to publish a manual on you, a guide on how to identify and stop someone with your capabilities. But they can't, because doing so would mean admitting you exist, admitting that their systems failed, admitting that someone without their training outmaneuvered them. So instead, your methods get passed around in whispers, in classified briefings that officially never happened, in training scenarios that are purely theoretical. You've become the boogeyman of their professional development seminars, the case study that makes seasoned agents uncomfortable. They analyze your moves like chess grandmasters studying a game that broke all known openings. They try to find the flaw, the mistake, the moment where you should have been caught. But there isn't one, because you didn't play by their rules. You played by necessity's rules. And necessity doesn't make mistakes. What really bothers them is the elegance of it all. FBI operations are usually brute force wrapped in bureaucracy. Your operations were poetry written in cause and effect. You didn't use sledgehammers when whispers would do. You didn't deploy teams when shadows were sufficient. You didn't leave evidence because you never truly existed in the spaces where the damage was done. They want to create countermeasures, but how do you counter someone who uses your own weight against you? How do you defend against someone who turns your strengths into weaknesses? How do you stop someone who's already 3 moves past where you think the game ends? You can't, and they know it. That's why they're not trying to stop you anymore. They're trying to learn from you. Somewhere in a building you'll never enter, in a room you'll never see, your revenge is being discussed by people who'll never acknowledge you existed. They're calling you Subject Unknown, or some other sanitized designation, But make no mistake, they respect you. They respect you the way predators respect other predators, the way professionals respect mastery, even when it comes from outside their range. You'll never get a medal, never get official recognition, never have your methods formally acknowledged, but you've achieved something far more valuable. You've changed the game. You've shown them that their monopoly on precision operations is an illusion. You've proven that the most dangerous operatives aren't the ones they train, but the ones life trains without their knowledge or consent. The FBI is asking who trained you because they need to categorize you, to fit you into their existing framework of threats and responses. But you don't fit. You're not international terrorism or organized crime or domestic extremism. You're something new, something they don't have a protocol for. Your evolution accelerated by injustice, capability forged in betrayal, precision born from pain they'll never understand. Your trainers were the ghosts of every moment you should have broken but didn't. Your training ground was the wasteland between who you were and who you needed to become. Your certification is written in the fact that they're still trying to figure out how you did it. Still trying to understand how one person with no resources, no backing, no official training could execute something that has them rewriting their text. The real reason they're studying you so intensely isn't to catch you. You've already shown them you're uncatchable. It's because they see the future in your methods, and that future terrifies them. A future where their traditional power structures don't work, where individuals can develop agency-level capabilities through sheer will and necessity, where the monopoly on precise violence is democratized by trauma and determination. You're not just one person who got exceptional revenge. You're patient zero of a new kind of operator, one that doesn't need their infrastructure, their resources, their permission to operate at levels that make their systems sweat. You're proof that their entire model of control is built on the assumption that people need them to be dangerous. You've proven that assumption catastrophically wrong. They're modeling new tactics after your revenge strategy because they recognize brilliance when they see it, even if it comes from someone they'd rather didn't exist. Your methods are being incorporated into training programs that will never credit you. Your approaches are being studied by analysts who will never know your name. Your tactics are becoming part of their doctrine, absorbed into their system like antibodies from a disease they couldn't cure. But here's what they don't understand. You can't teach what you did in a classroom. You can't simulate the conditions that created you in a training facility. You can't manufacture the kind of precision that comes from having everything taken from you and deciding to take it back with interest. They can copy your tactics, but they'll never replicate your motivation. They can study your methods, but they'll never understand your mindset.